Flame comes in with this Travis Scott in his feelings type of vocal. The piano is haunting. Everything feels dark, slow, and moody. And it sounds like the kind of song that you play at 2 a.m. when you're just like, you're trying to convince yourself you don't miss somebody. And Flame actually commits to this like fully. So the whole song, it feels intimate, almost like he's leaving a voice note for someone he shouldn't care about. He's doing something that he shouldn't be doing. And the group chat is gonna chew him for that. But then, Reese steps in with his verse, and then he flips the whole thing. So now it's no longer a romance, and it's no longer longing for a person. And he's like venting straight, and he's talking to like the music, directly speaking to it. Maybe he's like talking to the one person who actually knows what he wants.
Heaven knows how it gets, dealing with the cold and the wind. Fire flicker on when it's wet. Dry your eyes while it's
just another song. Alright, listen, Just Another Song is such a funny title to me, because when you hear that title, you think, okay, it's just a throwaway, right? It's like business as usual. But it's a funny title to me because it's actually one of those songs that actually made For Me to You and Only You really kind of stick with me the way that it did. And look, I am biased. I can sit here and lie to your face and pretend to be objective, but I'm biased. Like, this is my podcast, this is my show, right? But A-Reece, is his best album is For Me to You and Only You. Easily blows anything that he did out of the water. But yeah, the first time you hear this track, for me at least, in my experience, I think like I used to think it's a love song, and that's it, right? Flame comes in with this Travis Scott in his feelings type of vocal. The piano is haunting. Everything feels dark, slow, and moody. And it sounds like the kind of song that you play at 2 a.m. when you're just like, you're trying to convince yourself you don't miss somebody. And Flame actually commits to this like fully. So the whole song, it feels intimate, almost like he's leaving a voice note for someone he shouldn't care about. He's doing something that he shouldn't be doing. And the group chat is gonna chew him for that. But then, Reese steps in with his verse, and then he flips the whole thing. So now it's no longer a romance, and it's no longer longing for a person. And he's like straight venting, and he's talking to like the music, directly speaking to it. Maybe he's like talking to the one person who actually knows what he went through. And also remember, for context, this was his first album after leaving Ambitious Exploitation. First time breathing again, also first time saying like what he actually wants to say without worrying about who's watching and who's listening. So the tone has to shift, the beat stays soft, yes, but the words have to get heavier, so he has to like attack it. Bro sounds kind of exhausted too, but in the most graceful way actually. And that's why I've always seen this song like a sort of like a conversation, and Flame is giving the emotional setting and Reese is giving the emotional truth. So that's what I want to get into today in this video, in this episode of the Backstage Pass. So we're not going to do a bar for bar dictionary breakdown, but we're going to talk about the tension between the mood and the message, the different layers, the little things that make this song feel way bigger than the title tries to convince you, because it's not just another song. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit like, and yeah, get ready. Take a tag. This is your Backstage Pass. So let's talk about Flame's version, Flame's verse, Flame's contribution. Flame, kind of like I said previously, he sets the emotional tone. Everything with him is soft and yearning. He says cigarette smoking in the room and thinking about you only. Naughty things on my mind. So he's giving you a whole kind of R&B type of like confession, a little bit toxic, but it's still honest. And he talks like he already knows that the whole situation is messy. He has a man, it's complicated, but the temptation is still there. He's human after all. So Flame isn't judging anything. He's just sinking into it, sinking into the mood, giving into everything that's going on. And all he wants is affection, time, and attention whenever I'm in need of your love. And he says that like 6 times. That repetition, like I mentioned repetition like a lot. Repetition is is a very smart tool that you use for like to emphasize something. And what's being emphasized here is obsession and dependency, right? And just how desperate he is for that. And I think that's what makes the contrast with Reece so sharp later on. We're going to talk about that later. But Flame here, he wants comfort and validation, whereas Reece, he wants stability, money, and control over his life. And at first I used to be like, damn, what does Reece's verse have to do with this song? It doesn't really fit. But I think they're talking to two different things, but it still blends well with the song. But we'll get there though. Now let's talk about the interlude, right? The break. And you know what sucks? It's a voice note, right? It's a voice message. I'm gonna clip it. But that part always like feels so like real, you know? It kind of grounds the song and makes the whole fantasy aspect of it sounds like a memory, you know? Already the instrumental is kind of hazy, and now we have this voice message that has a reverb to it, so it adds to that, you know, that aesthetic, that feeling. It sounds like a memory instead of, you know, being present. And that, like, saying once or twice a year line, it low-key kind of sets up Reece's verse better than anything else. So you go from intimacy to distance to reality, which brings us to our third section, which I wanted to talk about, which is Reece, you know, the switch where Reece comes in. Now the post hook is where everything flips. Obviously Reece comes in and he goes, you know, I gotta pick up when nobody calling. You know, when he gets into that, immediately you hear the difference. Flame is talking about emotion, Reece is talking about survival. It's almost like he walked into Flame's universe and was like, okay, bro, I don't have time for feelings. I'm trying to build something. And he sounds tired, he sounds frustrated, but it also sounds enthusiastic. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, and it's still hazy, it's still dreamy, and it still sounds like it's dragging. It sounds like, I don't know what, there's nothing I know that can like describe it. But he also then says, he says, money's all I think of cause I want it. It's like it's as straightforward as it can get. Right there, there's no like need for any message, like there's metaphor. I don't think there's a double entendre. Like he's just like raw and honest with it. And again, you know, context matters. His first project after the Ambitious saga, his whole life changed. The way he saw the industry change, the way he saw people change. So this, you know, love that he's talking about, it's not romantic, but like love of the game. You know, he's married to the game. For the love of the game, it's the grind of the game, it's the team around him, the wrecking crew, the team that he was with at the time. Let's not talk about that. But yeah, which brings us to our fourth section that I wanted to talk about in this song, Reece's verse. Now this is where like it got really this is one of my favorite A-Reece verses. He says they don't make them like me, this ain't unlimited. Then he says wait, they don't make them like me, this ain't unlimited. They don't even like me, I've always been a kid. These days I don't even get excited about this music shit. Got paid, but it's crazy I'm not the one here who switched. Sometimes I don't even know who the famous one here is. Okay, I can't rap the whole thing verse by verse, but like I will take you guys like line by line. So the first line where he says they don't make them like this ain't unlimited. They don't even like me, I've always been a kid. That's someone, like I think he's feeling two things at the same time. Firstly, he's someone who feels different, right? He's unique. There's no one like A-Reece. I think in South Africa, in South African hip-hop, he has certainly like carved up his own niche, and I think that every single person after him is going to be compared to A-Reece. So yeah, I think that he is different. I think that's how he feels too. But also at the same time, he also feels like he's not really welcomed. He doesn't feel like he fits in, especially within the music industry here in South Africa. But also, what else does he say? He says, these days I ain't even excited about this music shit. Like I said again, with the drama, with the ambitious entertainment, imagine you're a kid and this is all you ever wanted. You wanted to be a rapper, you wanted to be one of your favorite rappers, you wanted to be like your older brother, and then you get into it and you realize this is not what you thought it was. You get exploited, you get cheated, you don't even own the art that you create, right? Obviously it's going to take a toll on his love for this industry that he spent his whole entire life trying to work towards, which, you know, kind of really puts us in that mindset, that way he was at the time, which is really cool. I honestly love when an artist is like super honest and like super vulnerable in hip hop. Like you have to like be tough as a rapper, as a man, especially in hip hop. You have to be tough. You have to talk about gun violence and all of that, which I love. As much as the next person. I love ass shaking music. Right? I love songs about gun violence. I love songs about killing your fellow man as much as the next person. But also it's nice to have variety, and that's what Reece is giving us, a variety, the option to choose something else, something different. But yeah, that whole verse for me, I think it feels like someone who's venting to a person that they trust. So whereas Flame is talking about a person that he's drawn to and he wants to be with, Reece's conversation instead is with someone he's with and that he trusts and that he feels like he can be open to and be open with. So it's two different conversations really, but it still works. It still works, I think. I feel like this may be like a conversation that he was having with someone, maybe a relative. Maybe he could be his brother or someone in the label. It could be his wife or someone, his partner, his girlfriend. I don't know, but he talks about flights, paranoia, keeping things private, friends turning shady, keep location private. But he also talks about feeling like there's a target on his back and watching his back, and it's dark and it gets real. And I think that's the beauty of this verse, because it doesn't really match the romantic mood of the chorus like at all, but emotionally it still hits. And I think Flame is talking about a person, whereas Reece is talking to a person about his life, and both of them are sort of longing for something that they don't fully have, or maybe they're still like working towards. But yeah, all in all, what I like about this song is also just like about how I think it's layered. I love how layered it is without trying to be deep on purpose. I think Flame's part sounds like like late night feelings, and Reece's part sounds like frustrations, and somehow on this beat both of these feelings can sit perfectly together. Flame with his intimacy, Reece with his honesty, and then the beat also ties both worlds together. It's an amazing, beautiful beat. I think it was made by Mashed Beats and NK. Those two work together on this beat. Amazing stuff. That piano always, it's so haunting, it's so beautiful. And yeah, I think For Me to You and Only You is full of songs like this. I think Pride is also something that really taps into that, at least sonically. It's moody, it's personal, and I think it's also, I wanted to say unpolished in that way, but like I don't know, I don't want to say something that doesn't sound like a compliment. I don't want people coming, okay, I do want people coming after me, but I think it sounds unpolished in the best way. And I think that throughout the song, Reece is kind of rebuilding his whole life, and someone else, is singing through the heartbreak of it all. And I think that the song title is misleading, quite misleading, because it's not just another song. I think it's one of the clearest snapshot where both Reece and Flame were in, mentally in 2017. Young, talented, emotional, and also just like free and figuring out life in real time. But you guys tell me what you guys think. What's your takeaway from this song? Do you guys like this episode? And tell me how you feel about A-Reece. And yeah, sound off in the comments what you thought. I would appreciate if you guys liked the video, and if you shared it, it's gonna help the channel grow. Subscribe for more Backstage Passes, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.